This has to be one of the heaviest hitting weeks in a long time. Let's talk about it.
Here's some codes to save you some cash on your next Middle Eastern niche or designer fragrances.
What's going on, guys? My name is Neeb. Welcome back to AROMATIX. This has to literally be one of the heaviest hitting weeks in fragrance wearing for me in a long ass time. I wore oud, I wore new releases, I wore freaking gems. Dude, let's just go ahead and get started. So we're gonna be talking about gems of the week, and there are quite a few this week. Starting things off is from Zoha Aroma, and this is called Mystic Mint and Citrus. We're gonna get right down into it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can catch future videos just like this. Zoha Aroma is the inspo brand, but they also do originals. They ship worldwide and they stack up right there next to Dua brand and Alexandria fragrances, at least for me personally. I finally found one and I bought it like maybe a week and a half ago, but during the time being, I was absolutely milking this fragrance. It smells amazing. It smells like an Italian mojito basically. Very naturalistic smelling. There's some herbs, a lot of mint, and basically this aromatic fresh fragrance. And this smells extremely high quality, but this brand really hasn't disappointed me at all, not yet at least. So if you enjoy those tropical, expensive smelling fragrances, I'm telling you guys, like whatever puts you in those aromatic, fresh, tropical, this is exactly that. And we're talking about a fragrance that sells for less than 50 bucks. Yes, okay, they do have like the stock bottle and it's not really anything to show for, but that's perfect for vacay because you can literally take this, throw it in your bag, and you're all set. It's actually less than 50 bucks. AROMATIX will save you some money, obviously, but forget the code. The fragrance is amazing. I've got quite a few of their fragrances, and it's not like I'm always talking about them unless I come across something that's genuinely this good. This is genuinely this good. But the scent profile in itself, really have to like naturalistic herbal fragrances, and more specifically, that mint. In terms of longevity, I got a solid 8 hours, man. I got a solid 8 hours, but the opening of this was so freaking addicting that I found myself craving to spray it on again and again and again and again. So definitely smells 25 and up in terms of the age group because of those aromatics. You know, I'm in the kitchen a lot, I'm working with a lot of herbs, and I appreciate and love the natural beauty of all of those accords. This has exactly that. Plain and simple, that's it. Moving on to the next gems I rocked this week is gonna be these two. In fact, I wore a lot of fragrances this week because even transitioning into the nighttime, I wanted to test a couple of cheapies. There were a lot of new release or recent release cheapies that I had to actually test at night and during the day, and luckily there were some fragrances that faded off and enabled me to rock some of these other ones. So next ones that I rocked was Qurashi Blend and the Royal and the Noir, and both of these are excellent new takes on the original DNA, staying true to the original flanker, which I freaking now I'm obsessing over apparently. It's just extremely intense lemon and natural smelling ambergris. You guys want to get your nose on a natural smelling ambergris that's extremely Middle Eastern though, Bakhur and Oudi, that's the one. Blue sapphire vibes, except this one came out first. Smells like $1,000,000. Middle Eastern royalty, not for beginners at all. Fresh, aquatic, salty, marine, and oudi and bakhuri. Beautiful stuff. What these do basically is modernize it. The Royal adds berries, kind of tones down some of that intensive lemon. You still have that very naturalistic smelling ambergris, toned down, much more modern and easier to get into. I freaking loved wearing this fragrance. So I will say that total longevity gave me about 8.5 hours, but the sillage and projection, I got 2 compliments while rocking this, and I rocked it to the gym. But then again, I wore a Qurashi Blend to the gym, and I got complimented too, okay? That smells like you're going for like Hajj, man. It smells like Middle Eastern money, basically. So next one was the Noir. Initially, I thought that I'd enjoyed this more, but I think I like the Royal more. It's more bright, it's playful, it's louder, it's just more enjoyable and fun, in my opinion. Noir is gonna shine better during the other seasons, like spring and fall, or sorry, yeah, even spring, fall, and winter time. And total longevity for that, I got about 7 hours. It literally smells like the Royal version, just more ambery. There's also a more woody nature that's kind of darker, and an addition of sweet myrrh, which is an amber basically. It's sweetened, it's resinous, it's darker, it's not as berry centric, getting pretty close, but it just has a more seductive factor and less of a playful vibe. Only given about 7 hours in comparison. I love them both, I rock them both, and I continue to find myself craving especially the Royal and the OG. The OG is something else, but these are true ass flankers, thank God. Phenomenal fragrances. Royal for me now is like a 9.5, where Noir is a 9 and the OG is a 10 out of 10. Moving on to the next fragrance. This is another one that I was testing during the summertime. It's called King Blue by Amouage. I couldn't spray this on more than about 5 times during the heat, but I absolutely love that fragrance, man. It's got something aromatic, giving it a little bit of this blue vibe, and oud, basically. It does have like this slightly fecal barnyardy quality of oud that actually works. Smells like a freaking aphrodisiac. But that's just the accord that you're gonna get. In totality, the fragrance in itself smells like an extremely opulent smelling bakhur. It smells like sandalwood, or I should say oak rather. Oak oak chips. It's very dense in that oak, along with some Mandarin-styled fragrance oils and the oud. That's basically what it smells like. So if you have bakhur that has a little bit of fruits like mandarin specifically, and some rose oils, etc., that's what it's gonna smell like. Opulent, regal, and very slight tinge of a metallic undertone, very likely recreating this saffron-like accord. Smells like $1,000,000. Genuinely appreciate it at least 2 times more than prior to actually wearing the fragrance. Where I was just saying Royal Tobacco, this actually has made it to the top 15 niche fragrances of all time. So I know I said fecal, but it's not that bad. We're just talking if you separate that one accord on its own, but in synchrony, it's beautiful, you guys, and it actually got me compliments as well. Not for everybody though, not for everybody. Next fragrance I rocked this week is called Fanfare by Tamine, and Tamine is actually a brand that I've been diving into more recently. I thoroughly enjoyed rocking this fragrance. It's got also aromatics, and you guys know how I feel about aromatic fresh fragrances, except there's a little bit of an indolic vibe with this one as well. It seems like there's white florals that's kind of fluffed up and creates this foamy nature to it, while still having that freshness and all of those aromatics protruding through the entirety of the fragrance. A slightly green undertone to the neroli with a very small tinge of metallic, and I think it's a combination of that lavender with the green undertone to that neroli. So what you end up getting is basically this citrus style fragrance. It kind of smells more like citron than lemon to me, and what citron basically smells like is going to be lemon with slight metallic undertones, a lot of this orange flower style DNA that's kind of thick and buttery, and then you're going to get some of those more mature accords coming from basically that rosemary and juniper berry. They do have a vermouth note that's listed in the middle, but that generally speaking is recreated through using the note of juniper berry. Juniper berry is noted to actually give you the notes or accords of something like tonic water. Long story short, piney, fresh, aromatic, and also fluffy style of neroli and citrus fragrance. That's pretty much it. Fresh, green, and spicy. The whole experience with this fragrance was something classical, old school, but also done in a very high-end way. This isn't really gonna be for anybody under 25. It recreates this classic fougere vibe, but much more expensive than that sounds. It's not gonna smell like just your Drakkar Noir. It definitely smells niche, the highest of qualities for sure. And each note that you can discern smells relatively natural. So 2 categories that I usually get is well blended, or you can pick out the notes. If you can pick out the notes and the quality is kind of shit, then the fragrance falls apart. But this absolutely is not the case. Everything I picked up smells like top shelf stuff. Great fragrance, kind of took me back in terms of, you know, modern day style fragrances, and it lasted for a solid 6.5 to 7 hours, which is what I would have expected from a scent profile like this. In terms of the projection, it did what it needed to do without being too obnoxious. This is definitely something that I would see somebody, you know, 25 and up rocking, not for the younger crowds, but still really nice. Moving on to the next fragrance that I rocked this week, and I actually wore this one to bed. Brand new from Sphinx, it's called Cairo Nights. Cairo Nights is, I mean, yeah, can you tell why I rocked it to bed? But in all reality, this actually turned out to be fresher than I thought it would be. There's a fresh green accords to the fragrance, blended with this vanilla, spice, and ambergris style DNA that is very different, but also familiar at the same time. So in terms of how it smells, I give this one like a 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10. It definitely stacks up against their other fragrances, and I would say I'd place it in like top 5 Sphinx. I'm not gonna say top 3, but definitely top 5 for now. What I ended up getting with this fragrance is this fresh green, but also lighter than your typical grass style green. I kind of got like this cucumber aquatic vibe, along with that dense base of orange flower, vanilla, cinnamon. It's different, but also familiar at the same time. That's the best way I could describe this one. So I sprayed it on, went to bed. The next morning I woke up and I could still smell it, but it wasn't like, you know, the most strong fragrance in the world. So I would say that 8 hours is a safe bet. It's not one that I've worn out yet, but definitely something that I rock to bed and I think is worthy of a checkout for sure. I love Black Anubis and obviously Coconut Daiquiri. This would probably be like number 3 or number 4. It's a really, really good one. The next one that I decided to rock, also while I was rocking around the house, it was one of the same days that I rocked one of these 2 fragrances after the gym, etc. I got home, showered, and I decided to rock Tribal Blue. Reason I rocked this one is I wanted to see how close it actually is to 9 p.m. I enjoy it a little bit more than 9 p.m. It's less juvenile, it's not as musky sweet. Although still having the sweetness, I appreciate natural accords much more than anything. And that's kind of why I like the whole tropical fresh, etc. So the closer you get to raw materials and basically natural ingredients, the better it smells and the more compliments you're gonna get, and you know what it is. Anyways, so it gave me a total longevity of about 6.5 hours. I mean, when I was going to bed, it was already becoming a skin scent, and I would say about 6.5 hours, maybe 7.5 at the tops, but still nevertheless really good. And I could smell myself for like a solid 2 hours. So not a beast, but phenomenal fragrance nevertheless. Next one I wore this week is called Atal by Junaid Perfumes. This has been around since the freaking 30s in Jordan, a niche company that I've grown up knowing, and my dad was in love with this brand. brand. And so I've been diving into a lot of their fragrances, and I bought 50 with my money of these fragrances. I mean, that's not really anything whoa, but yeah, I spent my own money on these. So my opinion will never be bought regardless, but these are ones that I bought. So this has it has like a 6-note breakdown, a lot of their fragrances, but I'm gonna tell you guys what I got with this fragrance. I got citruses, I got zingy, ginger, I also got some coriander and orris, and maybe some patchouli amber style dry down. Only problem with this fragrance is it didn't give me more than about 4.5 to 5 hours. But if you're somewhere where it's like, you know, really hot and you only need that, this is a phenomenal fragrance. Office safe, blind buy safe, everything safe, literally. Nothing spectacular, but smells amazing. Unfortunately, you don't see much talk about Junaid perfumes, but that's going to change because I've got 50 of them. We're going to be talking about all of them, and luckily I got a hold of the brand and we're going to be making it much more available here in the States at affordable prices. So get ready to get more niche quality fragrances that are actually niche quality and that are actually a niche brand for like under 100, man, next level stuff. Junaid perfumes, I'm very excited to talk about these. This one, however, like I said, 4.5 to 5 hours performance tops. Nothing brand new or spectacular, but there you have a lot of other bangers coming very, very soon. So around the same night that I rocked it, I don't even know, man. It's one of those nights. So look, this is what I end up doing, okay? Just being 100% honest. I put like a little bucket on the side of my table and I put them here. And once it reaches the end of the week, or just Fridays is when I record this video, I grab them and I start talking about them. So forgive me, I don't know exactly what day I wore them, but I know what my reports are, that I actually have them written down on this pad right here, and I tell you guys how much performance it gave me and the key points about everything that I wrote, okay? So moving on to the next fragrance. It's called Smell Like a King by EPC. So EPC is a brand that I've been talking about a lot because of my experience with them. They're so hospitable, they're amazing, but who cares about all of that if you don't have good juices? Oh, they're hospitable, they're amazing, but they smell like ew. No, that's not the case. They smell like wow before I found out they were hospitable. The only reason I approached the brand is because they got my attention with their sample kit. I had a sample kit of about 12 fragrances, and I kid you not, 8 of them were hits. How do you not miss that hard? That was the case with them, and I ended up buying two of them, and the rest were gifted. I will be honest to say they were gifted, but thank God, because I would have bought them anyway. So who the hell would say no to a gift? My favorite fragrance from them ended up being Amber Iris and Amber Épice. However, they sent me a couple of new releases, Pistachio Haiku and Smell Like a King. Pistachio Haiku is this pistachio gelato fresh fragrance with vetiver and green undertones. It is pretty masculine, very different, but I really enjoy it. Smell Like a King is another fragrance that's also going to be a little bit more challenging to people. There's a lot of cardamom in here and certain spices and ambers and maybe even some woods at the dry down that even for my taste went a little bit too peppery for my taste. So it's not necessarily like just black peppers or anything like that, but more challenging Middle Eastern style peppers. There was also this aromatic nature that was dosed up pretty highly as well. I fell in love with the opening, the cardamom, etc., but this started to go a little bit too oriental. It started going more into like the Indian realm of spices, and there's nothing wrong with that, just not something that I would necessarily want to wear. Smells great, just a little bit more mature than my taste, and that's pretty much it. In terms of longevity, this lasted literally the next day on clothing. And generally, isn't that how it goes whenever you have a fragrance that you're not like in love with? It turns out to be like, no, all jokes aside, it's not a bad fragrance, not something that I personally want to wear, but they have so many freaking bangers. If you don't have Amber Iris and you like fragrances like Blonde Amber by Clive Christian, trust me, Amber Iris is a fucking 10 out of 10. No joke. Use code AROMATIX to save. Or don't. Get it at full price. Anyways, moving on to the last fragrance. This is the last one that sealed the deal this week. It's called Tribal Gold by Grandor. So I was actually extremely excited about this one, and this shit lasted at least 8 hours. Definitely their longest lasting in terms of the tribals, and their best one. Their best one. Tribal Intense is okay. Tribal Blue is really good, but Tribal Gold, next level stuff. A lot of people have been asking me what I think about, like, you know, it compared to Rehan Elixir. Rehan Elixir is good. It's really good. It's more ambery. You know, I think both fragrances are great. Basically, if you want something that gets a little bit closer, that's the one to go with. And that's pretty much it, man. A lot of, oh, you know what? Let me sneak this one in. I actually wore this starting of the next week, but I want to tell you guys about this now because it's here and it's in my hand. This is called Aqua de Jo Eau de Parfum. They have officially fixed the Aqua de Jo. I swear to God, you guys, like Aqua de Jo EDT, I would never even waste my time talking about it. And that's why I didn't even go and buy this when it initially released, but my God, I was missing out. So this brought back a lot of memories because when I was in fragrance, when the original EDT was out, and I freaking loved it when it was still, you know, performing. However, I will tell you that out of all of the originals, this is easily the best one. The Eau de Parfum prior to this was also pretty good, but not as full-bodied and as deep and rich in the woods as this one. I rocked it, Matt. Let me save that for next week, but this is actually really good. Aqua de Jo Revived. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Bunch of bangers this week. Bunch of bangers. bangers. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Make sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next week, and until the next one, peace.